Greetings friends, thank you for visiting my channel. Coming up is an incredible, fantastic movie called Super 8. Watch out for spoilers ahead. The film starts in February of 1979, at a steel plant in Lillian, Ohio. Elizabeth Lamb, Katrina Balfe, has been killed in an accident. Though their family and friends are sad for her husband, Deputy Jackson Lamb, Kyle Chandler, their main concern is Joe Lamb, Joel Courtney, Elizabeth and Jackson's son. Joe was more attached to his mom than his dad, who was never really been there for his son. 4 months later, the local middle school lets out for the summer. Joe's friend Charles Riley Griffiths has been shooting a Super 8 film for a film festival in Cleveland. Charles has rewritten the story so that the detective now has a wife. Joe is unsure about this last-minute rewrite, but when Charles tells him that he has gotten Alice Daynard for the part, Elle Fanning, he becomes less concerned. Later that evening, Joe goes to meet Charles and the rest of their crew: Carrie, Ryan Lee, Preston, Zach Mills, and Martin, Gabriel Basso. When Alice shows up in her dad's Buick Skylark, she's concerned that the deputy's son knows she's driving without a license. Joe promises not to tell, and Alice reluctantly allows him along for the ride. The group arrives at the Lillian train station, where Charles intends to shoot a scene with Martin as the detective of his story, trying to get his wife, aka Alice, to leave because of a zombie infection. Joe is smitten with Alice, who shocks the guys when during the rehearsal, she delivers a performance that brings her to tears. The boys are snapped out of their shock by the sound of an approaching train. As they film the scene of the train thundering past the station, Joe catches sight of a white truck turning onto the tracks. The truck hits the train, causing a massive and explosive derailment. Surveying the wreckage, they come across some strange white cubes. Joe takes one, and find the wreckage of the truck. Inside, they find the body of one of their local science teacher, Dr. Woodward, Glynn Turman. Joe removes a map from the doctor's hand. Everyone is shocked when he starts talking to them. Pulling a gun, he threatens them and tells them that they are not to tell anyone what they saw. Joe goes over to Alice's house to convince her to help them finish the film. Their conversation is interrupted by the arrival of Alice's father, Ron Eldard. He demands that Joe stay away from the family's home and Alice. Seeing that her father is somewhat drunk, she agrees to help Joe and his friends. The gang then goes out to the scene of the train crash, this time using it as background for their filming. During the filming, Joe notices that the train features Air Force insignia. Later at a restaurant, he peruses the map that Dr. Woodward had in his possession, noting a red line drawn in, snaking across the country. Jackson soon grows concerned when the military begins to roll into Lillian. Still not receiving answers as to their presence in the town, he receives word from one of the townspeople about a radio frequency that seems to be picking up military transmissions. Jackson has the other officers tune their radios into the frequency, and soon hears word of something codenamed Operation Walking Distance. Shortly after hearing the transmission, Jackson encounters Alice's father Lewis, who tells Jackson to keep Joe away from Alice. Upset at hearing this, Jackson tracks down Joe, and takes back his movie camera as well. Jackson finds the military moving stuff out of Dr. Woodward's home. Finding General Nellick at the site, Jackson again demands answers. When he doesn't get any, he mentions Operation Walking Distance. This causes Nellick to agree to meet with Jackson later on that evening at a nearby airfield. Joe heads over to the cemetery after this, where he sits at the headstone of his mother's grave. While there, he hears some loud scraping and noises coming from a garage near the tombstones. Returning to his room later on, he is surprised when Alice appears. As they sit and talk, Alice asks Joe about the locket she's seen him carrying around. He claims it belonged to his mother, and they retrieved it after her accident. Alice then heads home, only to find her father drunk and smoking in their living room. Disgusted by her father's behavior, she rushes out and gets on her bike. Louis drunkenly follows in his car, but ends up crashing it. As Alice is unsure what to do, she turns to see a large creature that causes her to scream. Louis attempts to get free of his wrecked car, but finds Alice and the creature gone. The next day, Joe and Charles go to pick up the developed Super 8 film, but Charles is rather upset and cryptic towards Joe. When they finally get to Joe's place and watch the film, Charles explains that he is upset that Joe and Alice seem to be getting along and liking each other. The reason Charles cast Alice in the film was because he actually liked her. As they examine the film, their thoughts become turned when they see parts of a strange creature emerging from one of the wrecked train cars. As they wonder what it was they just saw, air raid sirens begin to go off. They emerge outside to find the town being evacuated, with everyone being asked to report to the local military base. Joe then rounds up Charles and their friends, with the intent to get back into town and rescue Alice. Bribing the town's camera store owner to help them, he manages to get them into town. Breaking into the school, they use a film projector in one of the classrooms. Through the materials, they learn that the creature is subterranean, and mainly wants to just go home. However, General Nellick was more intent on keeping the creature for army purposes. They also found its ship contained technology that, when disassembled, shattered into the little white cubes that the group saw at the crash site. Due to Woodward's interactions with the creature, he was able to gain a telepathic link to it, and notes in his findings that due to the hostilities directed towards it, it has grown hostile in nature to humans as well. The boys soon hear noises in the school, and are soon found by Nellick and his men. The group confiscates the items, as well as Joe's mom's locket. Meanwhile, Jackson has managed to escape his captors, and after creating a diversion, gets to the other base where the townspeople are being kept. He finds one of Joe's friends there, and after hearing of Joe's plans to rescue Alice, finds her father and takes him along. Joe tells Carrie about the strange things he saw and heard from the garage. Breaking down a door, they find a large hole, dug down several stories deep. Climbing down, they see it leads up to several other places. Eventually, they come across the creature's lair under the town's water tower, which houses all sorts of mechanical parts, including the missing items from the townspeople. As they watch, they see several people strung from the ceiling, including the missing sheriff, as well as Alice. Fearful that Alice might be next, Joe directs Carrie to create a distraction using the fireworks in his backpack. This causes the distraction that Joe needs as the creature heads down the tunnel towards the loud sounds. Joe, Alice, and Carrie run but are soon at a dead end. The creature has them cornered, but Joe stands before it, reasoning with it. The creature acts hostile at first, but even in the face of its bizarre appearance, Joe does not react hostilely like the previous treatment it has known. Suddenly, a sound is heard deep in the cave near the creature's lair, and it puts Joe down before returning. The three return to the surface and congregate near the water tower. As they do, all sorts of mechanical objects in the area become magnetized to the water tower's top area. As they watch, the locket in Joe's pocket attempts to fly away. Joe catches it, and we see what was inside it the whole time: a picture of Joe's mom and him as a baby. Joe finally lets go of his mom, and the locket flies up to the magnetized water tower, where the metallic objects and the white cubes morph into a spaceship. Everyone watches as the ship ascends into the sky. As they do, Joe and Alice hold each other's hands. They and their families have reconciled over their past differences, and at this point the movie ends. Please like, subscribe and write what you think about this movie. I recommend these two videos and wish you a nice day.